try to work it all out. Two middle-aged guys try to work it all out. Two middle-aged guys try to work it all out.
Hey everyone, welcome to Two Middle-Aged Guys Trying to Work It All Out. Dave here, and with me, as always, part of my crew on our journey, our 20-some-odd year journey to get to actually recording this episode. One might say it was an Odyssey. I don't know, maybe. It is with me as always is Chris.
Yes. Hello, Dave. How are you?
Doing good. I don't want to spoil anything, but I hope that your fate is better than the fate of the Odyssey's crew and mine.
Well, I just spent 7 years on Calypso's Island, so I finally got off, but I'm back in recording mode now, so here we go.
All right. Did you eat all of some other god's cows? Apparently that was a thing too.
Oh, no.
Back then.
Oh, heavens, no.
Gods had cows.
I would not have made that mistake, no.
Well, because you're a vegetarian.
That's true.
But what if you needed leather shoes?
Ooh, I do like leather shoes. Yeah, I don't know. I probably would have perished with the rest of the crew.
These are the difficult, challenging topics. That Homer was trying to grasp when he laid down his tome, his epic poem, which rhymes with toem.
Yes.
Sort of false rhyme, but he was really trying to struggle. What if a man is starving on an island? Mm-hmm. What if his footwear is inadequate and he must, or inadequate? Back then it was inadequate in the ancient Greek, and he must craft shoes for himself. Even though it might anger the gods, it might anger that particular minor deity Voit. I just made a joke about an episode that hasn't posted yet. Void shoes. All right.
That's all right. Yes.
In Nolan fashion, you just gotta figure it out. We're messing with time here, folks. Chris, it took us a while to get here.
Yeah, it has.
It feels like it has been a solid 20 years since we last recorded. I think it's been, 3.5 weeks, but
yeah. But no, I mean, the feel is important, and it's been a long time. I mean, our schedules have been absolutely crazy, and I would say I'm available here and you're not, and then you're available this date and I'm not. But we finally got to a point where we have returned home, which I think is appropriate given the topic of conversation today. We finally got to a 3,000-year-old text. So we're going to be talking about Homer's The Odyssey, right? That's the topic?
Yes. And I spent a couple weeks inside of a wooden horse.
Okay.
That had nothing to do with the Odyssey. I was at a park and I got trapped. And I felt really silly when they finally got me out. Like, sir. First of all, I was like, what kind of public park has a giant wooden horse? This is a hazard. I'm glad that we finally got to be here. I'm glad that we watched, a Nolan film. Since we started recording this show and you and I started doing this, 2 Nolan films have come out. Oppenheimer and now The Odyssey, double O's. And it took us months to get around to both seeing and recording Oppenheimer. And for big Nolan fans, it seemed really weird and wrong. We both saw Barbie before we saw Oppenheimer. This, though, we were on top of it. We were seeing it within, I saw it opening weekend.
Yep, and I was supposed to and did not get to. So I saw it just this past weekend, the second weekend of it running in theaters. Still packed, very hard to get tickets to. Had to sit in a seat I was not pleased with, but that's okay. I got to see the movie.
Was it was it like on the other side of the screen, sort of like in a weird Nolan, you had to watch it backwards? But if you were to rethink about it backwards, it might have made more sense. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it was only an inverted seat that was still available. So I went ahead and I went with it. So it's a story about Odysseus being at home and then leaving, right? That's what it's about?
I think so.
Okay.
By the way, for listeners, and you can leave this in, Ron Hurst, our local weatherman, burst in to the episode. And I have to say that during the Odyssey, the exact same thing happened. I was going to tell the story. It's funny. But in a very tense moment, our local weather guy broke in with a news station alert about the heat warning because there's going to be 1,000 degrees or whatever. And I'm trying to silence my phone, stuff it under my leg, and of course everybody at the theater's jam packed. And it was funny that it happened right as we were talking about it. So you can leave that in.
All right. This
Leave that
is
in.
live
We're raw
entertainment,
here.
folks. That's what's happening right now.
Yeah, sure, sort of like. I was so happy we both got to see it. And I did not have good seats. We did not get to see it. And did you guys see it in IMAX?
No, I did not get to see it in IMAX. Well,
didn't get
there's
to see it in IMAX.
the closest true 70 millimeter IMAX to us is Dallas, Texas.
Yes.
So I did not make that journey. We have a Limax near us, which is the digital projection. I don't believe the screen's quite as big, is my understanding. And I just didn't fight the crowds. I just went to our favorite Alamo Drafthouse Theater in our hometown and saw it that way.
Yeah, it's a real bummer because our old IMAX we're near Branson, Missouri, folks, used to be a legit, true non-Limax 70 millimeter projection. And they upgraded, scare quotes, heavy square quotes. They upgraded some years back. And I think I saw, before they upgraded, I think I saw The Dark Knight Rises on it. And listen, the IMAX is an incredible experience, regardless of whether it's, the pure digital, whether it's an IMAX 3D or the true 70 millimeter. But it was sad to hear that they, and they probably thought it was great. And people were like, oh, digital, wonderful. Digital equals better, right? But kind of a disappointment that we don't have anyone anywhere near us. That's a true film IMAX.
No, I've even been traveling for work a lot, and every place I end up, I'm Googling to see if there's a real IMAX theater anywhere close to me, and I have not got lucky so far. I'm taking a trip next week, and I'm still not near an IMAX theater, so it's sad, really. But there's only 25 of them in the United States, I believe is the number.
Yes.
And then like 41 in the world, so hard to see it in its true 70 millimeter glory.
And 24 of them are like in Christopher Nolan's house.
Yes.
So he's kind of hoarded them. When I travel, I don't look for IMAXs, but I do check to see what theaters are around. And, I know that I always think that everybody everywhere has an Alamo Drafthouse, which is not the case. There's only 40 of them, 30 of them. So it's a pretty low number, but I'm always like, oh, no one ever has. Unless I'm in Austin, Texas, and they do have one, but which I'm not, I haven't been in Austin in years. But it's always interesting, to check that. But we're here, we get to actually talk about it. And I have seen 3 movies in the theaters in the course of the last 5 weeks, which is incredible. It's an incredible run. I mean, this is not, that's a lot for any period of time, but certainly in the last few years to have gotten to see 5 movies in the span of a month-ish. That's a pretty big deal. I'll run them down, and we can rank them throughout this episode today. I got to see Supergirl, and then I got to see the Odyssey, its opening weekend, and then I got to see Spider-Man, something, Spider-Man, Brand New Day. Well, we're here. We're going to talk about the Odyssey. By the way, the Odyssey is one of those words I cannot spell. So I have always, for years, just abbreviated it ODY. I used to have a customer called Odyssey, and it was a healthcare world. Now it's kind of a weird name for a healthcare organization. Like, oh yeah, we like to stuff people in horses, and if they don't die, we trap them on islands, whatever.
And we get there
the Odyssey.
in 20 some odd years, so no worries.
It takes us a while. Slow and steady wins the race. So yeah, we're here. We're getting at it. We're going to talk about a new Nolan film. Big deal. We've both been looking forward to this, really since the last Nolan film comes out. The second you walk out of the theater, you're like, you're gushing about what you just watched, and then you're like, what is he going to do next? It's exciting, and you're not going to guess it. I would have never guessed it was the Odyssey, I would have not had any interest in that story. in that subject matter. Greek mythology is not my thing, as we'll get into. But him doing it, I was like, okay, now I'm invested. So let's get into it. So I thought I have with me, if you don't mind, I'm going to do an audible here, and I have a coin with me, a dime. Actually, let me grab a slightly larger one. Let me go with a quarter here. And I thought, instead of us, sort of dancing around it like we have been, dragging it out,
Yeah.
we'll flip a coin, and whoever wins, right, they get to choose who goes first. What do you think about that as a way to mix it up? All right, watch me. I'm going to drop it, and this is going to be awful, embarrassing. Okay, yep, I did. I dropped it because it's dark in here. So I'm going to let you call it.
I call heads.
Heads or tails?
Heads.
All right, this is good radio here. You got heads. Good. A coin toss. Live on the air, sort of. Not really. We recorded. So you get to choose, Chris. Who goes first in laying out their point of view on the new Chris Nolan epic?
I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to take it. I'm going to go first.
All right.
Okay.
Before you do that, let me give you my thoughts on it. No, it's good. Go ahead.
All right. So here is my thought. I'm going to zig when you think I'm going to zag, because I think that we are to a point where it's kind of boring to talk about Christopher Nolan films, because all you can say is, "Yep, it was perfect." No notes. And that doesn't make for a really good conversation. So in a nutshell, that's where I stand. I was very impressed with the movie. I thought that it was brilliantly made in the sense that it was very restrained. Like, there is no funky camera moves in this movie. There's no, there are action set pieces, but it's not like modern cinema where it's like, oh, here's the dramatic parts, and now we're ramping up to the action, and we get 15 minutes of action, and then we go back to the dramatic parts. It's not laid out like that. And so what the Odyssey taught me about Christopher Nolan filmmaking more than any other of his films is that his superpower is understanding story structure. And the fact that he has got such a strong grasp on pacing, on what scenes need to go where, on how to tell the story, that basically his style for the Odyssey was to get a great cast together, have a great script, and turn the camera on and just let it happen. And I think that is how this movie basically got made. I think if you strip away all of the IMAX stuff, I'm not sure. I understand why you wanted to use that camera. I understand the majesty that brings to it. I can only imagine what it would be like seeing it in 70 millimeter IMAX screen. It would be remarkable. Seeing it on a regular movie theater, I don't know that really changed how he would have made that movie. I think he still would have just had a brilliant cast, a brilliant script, and then shot it. And that's what he did. And that's my 2-minute analysis of the Odyssey.
Wow. Okay. All right. So I think that, trying to think about how I can frame this. I think this is going to be the most stark disagreement we have ever had in the history of TMAG.
Okay.
Maybe it shuts down the show. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time for the show to end.
Wow.
Okay. I'm kidding about that. But I'm not kidding about the fact of disagreement. I thought that it was absolutely Nolan's weakest film, and it was just soulless, underacted. You said, I think, restrained. I would say maybe chemically restrained, maybe sedated. It was devoid of passion, technically impeccable, but soulless. And that's a criticism Nolan gets a lot, and I generally defend him of that criticism, right? Nope, I think everybody who says that, and they've been saying about him for years, and I'm like, hey, if you think he's soulless, go watch The Prestige, go watch Memento, go watch The Dark Knight, right? I mean, there's, Interstellar, right? The greatest movie ever made. My favorite movie is Interstellar. This movie is soulless. This movie is passionless. I had no interest in Greek mythology when, before it was announced, I had only a passing interest because of Nolan, right? Figured I didn't need to know anything because he was going to, good storyteller, would frame it up. He'll tell me what I need to know. And I have even somehow less interest now that I've seen the film. Because if that's representative of what Greek mythology, and I know enough about Greek mythology to know the beats of the story and all that. I found it to be utterly boring. Which is a real shame because I don't think any of his movies have been boring. I mean, Oppenheimer was a biopic or a biopic or however you say that about a very morally gray individual told over 3 hours and with almost no action. And I was like, my eyes were glued to the screen for every minute of that movie. This is a story that is, got some huge action set pieces, and I mean, if I had been more comfortable, I might have fallen asleep. I just did not care for it at all, and I think that there's a lot of hype, and I think people are kind of buying into it, and I think that in hindsight, clearer heads a few years down the road, people are going to admit the flaws to this film. And I'm not a big Zendaya, however you say her name, fan. I found her part to be not the worst part of the movie, which is, maybe the first time I've ever said that about a Zendaya film. Usually she drags it down. She didn't drag it down. It was already there. She didn't have to do any lifting to pull it down. I just was bored to tears by the film. But I didn't have tears because the film elicited no emotional response from me. The dog dying. Oh, by the way, we should probably pause and say there's spoilers for the 3,000-year-old story.
Yeah, and Chris Nolan himself has made that joke, so I feel like we're in.
Okay, good.
We're fine. We're fine.
The dog dying did not I know it wanted me to. I think it wanted me to care, but even that was so underplayed in a movie where there's some ham-fisted, on-the-nose dialogue. We've been on this beach for 7 years. Let's get the F off of it or whatever. That was pretty on the nose, right? That's actually a monologue from Leonardo DiCaprio's movie, The Beach. No, I'm just kidding. For a movie that's on the nose in some areas, I would have appreciated a little bit more emotional manipulation with the dog. I'm like, okay, fine. You hit me with the animals, hit me with the kids, do something. Make me care. Okay. Didn't even bother doing that. I just thought it was weak. And, I didn't, this is, other than Dunkirk, this is the only Nolan film I will never revisit. And I only choose not to revisit Dunkirk because it made me too anxious. It was too visceral, too exciting. The Odyssey was too boring, too clinical and cold.
It is interesting that you make that comparison because I also thought that the Odyssey has the most in common with Dunkirk from Nolan's body of work. The films reminded me a lot of each other. To the point where I was waiting for the reveal of Agamemnon to be Tom Hardy, but that never happened.
Or Harry Styles. That would have been.
So I do think you're on point with that comparison, and I'm not surprised that you've lumped the two movies together. I am surprised at your reaction to it, and I am surprised at not wanting to revisit it. I already want to revisit it. I saw it yesterday, and I would go see it again in a heartbeat because what I took from it is a very this is gonna I promise you I'm not just poking the bear. Like, I found it to be a very emotional movie. Like, I I know. I'm looking at your facial expression right now, which the audience doesn't get the benefit of, but I found it.
See it.
I was invested, like from the moment it started. Like I think I said this on the podcast before, but Nolan has this tendency of making movies where I'm very excited about the next Chris Nolan movie, and then it's announced, and I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
fine. And then I see the
Oppenheimer is the perfect example of that. It's
Right.
like, oh man, really?
Yeah.
This? Fine,
And then-
I'm with you, but
and then you see the trailer, and suddenly you're like, okay, well, I'm on board. This looks amazing. And then you see the film, and you're like, that is amazing. And I followed that same pattern with Odyssey. I am fascinated by Greek mythology. I don't study it. I mean, I know the beats, kind of like you were talking about. And when they announced the Odyssey, my immediate reaction was, we've already got the greatest, telling of the Odyssey in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Why do we need something else?
Sure.
And then I saw the trailer, and I was very excited about the trailer, and I saw the movie, and I absolutely loved it. Like, I found the performances to be like the key part of this movie for me. And I think that's the way Nolan approached it is, and maybe part of this is because, the IMAX camera weighs 1 million pounds or whatever it is. And like there's only so much you can do with it from a director standpoint, but just playing with faces on the screen was magical to me. And everyone in this movie was so good. Robert Pattinson blew me away in this movie. Tom Holland was fantastic. John Leguizamo, good grief, where did that casting come from? Okay. But outstanding. Anne Hathaway, and then of course Matt Damon, who arguably could be the weakest in the film, is still remarkable. And the story that he goes through, and then I'll call them twists. I don't know if you can have a twist in a 3,000-year-old piece of literature, but the turns, maybe that's a better word, the turns of the movie, I thought were so brilliantly orchestrated the way that Nolan presented them. And he is so good at hanging a lantern on something without you realizing that's what he's doing. Right? Like, he'll show you the scene of Odysseus stringing the bow and shooting the arrow through the axes at the beginning of the movie, but he does it in such a deft way that you're like, okay, interesting. That, I learned something about Odysseus. And then at the very end, when Anne Hathaway is like, who will complete my test, or whatever phrase she uses, and immediately your brain's like, oh, I know what's coming. And it's just this joyful revelation because of the way Nolan has constructed it. So I disagree with you in the soullessness and the coldness of it. I did not get that at all from the film.
Okay, so let's break it down into let's talk about some different things here, because you said a lot, right? And I get it, right? I see your point of view. I don't agree with it, but I, for the most part, see your point of view. But let's talk about let's start with the performances, because I think that there was a couple of great performances in the film, a whole bunch of just meh performances in the film, and one genuinely embarrassing performance in the film. So why don't you lay out what you thought were the highlights? Let's see if we can find some common ground here.
Okay, I think John Leguizamo was shocking. It was so emotive in that role, and connected with me immediately in that role, and then was a through character throughout the whole thing, really helping you understand kind of the intricacies outside of the familial reasons for Odysseus being gone, and kind of how that repercussed throughout the land of Ithaca. So John Leguizamo was a high water mark for me, but I thought Robert Pattinson was great. He excels at kind of that smarmy character that you hate.
Sniveling.
Yeah, exactly. He's really good in that role, and he is outstanding here. I thought Tom Holland was great, who I don't have a problem with in any other role he's ever done, but he's also never really been my favorite. But I thought he was fantastic here. I think Anne Hathaway's always good, and I thought Damon did great as well. But I feel like I don't feel like there was any bad performances. I think Samantha Morton as Cersei was fantastic. And Samantha Morton is an actress that I always appreciate seeing, and have ever since her debut film, which was A Sweet and Lowdown, which is just a remarkable performance on her part in that rather obscure picture. But yeah, so you say that there was one that was embarrassing, I think was the word that you used. I can't imagine what it is you're thinking of.
All right. Well, let me get to I definitely want to get to it, but let me tick off, because I think you and I agree on a couple of these performances. I think that the standout, knock me over with a feather. I think knock me over with a feather means you're not surprised. I can't remember. Anyways,
I think that means you are
I don't
surprised.
want to dive too deep. Okay, maybe that's what it means. I was so surprised. Johnny Legs. Where did that come from? Did he know he could act? He's just been waiting, right? Like,
maybe.
Or was it just a shock to him?
So he was really good also in Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet, which is not a movie I'm a fan of, but Leguizamo in that movie is really, really good. So I think
it's been so long since I've seen that.
I think he's
I do
always
remember
had
him being good, though. I do.
Yeah. And I think that maybe just his turn as Luigi has haunted him. It maybe is what's going on. I don't know, but he's
and
tremendous.
The Happening. Remember him in The Happening? Is the
was
doctor,
that the plant one?
The teacher?
Is that the plant one?
When he's like,
yeah, okay.
Everybody likes statistics. You could throw the statistics out. That was he had this affectation to his accent. It was weird. It was a weird, awful movie. Awful movie. His performance was particularly bad. Great. He made you care about that character, and I enjoyed that turn as old blind guy. I don't remember the name of the character, but I did, and he physically transformed.
Mm-hmm.
He did not look like Johnny Legs. I just made up that name for him. I'm hoping somebody's been calling him Johnny Legs forever.
It might catch on,
but I did. I thought he did a great job, and he was in. He was in. I think it was called The Menu or something with Ralph Fiennes. It's sort of this weird horror movie about a chef who goes crazy and kills his patrons in this weird sort of like Gordon Ramsay as a serial killer type movie. And Johnny Legs was in it and played a great, like a washed up actor. It was really, actually, was a pretty good, funny performance. But I just thought it was just him being, funny in a funny sort of black comedy. But I think that the guy can actually act. I just think he hasn't had, really good opportunities. In line, right? I think that was actually maybe the second best performance of the movie, but certainly the most shocking, like just left field, really, really good. Robert Pattinson was great. Robert Pattinson really can act. And I think he can overcome an underwritten, underdeveloped character like his Bad Gaius. I think that was his name, Snivelly Bad Gaius.
Yeah. I think that was the Roman name. In Greek, it's something else. But anyway, yes.
Oh, it was okay. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Anyway, but great. I think that most of the movie was just filled with sort of bland, underacting, somnambulant characters. I did enjoy John Bernthal getting a "let me tell you something" moment as bald guy brother of Agamemnon. But he's fine. He did just kind of play his sort of same role with his same accent and affectations as he always has, his physicality. I mean, I like John Bernthal, but he's got a super limited range. He didn't disappoint. He just sort of stayed in his lane, and it did fine, right? I thought Tom Holland actually did pretty well. I'm not a big Tom Holland fan, but I thought he did better than I feared. He's starting. I think he played like, what was he, like 22 or something in this movie? He's starting to actually look his age.
Right.
So that's fine. Travis Scott was in it briefly, the rapper, as the storyteller guy from the beginning. And I'm like, oh, come on. And I get it. Nolan wanted like a modern day rapper, bard, storyteller or something, like trying to tie the ancient tradition of oral storytelling with the modern hip hop, whatever. Listen, it was goofy, and he looked goofy, and he sounded goofy.
But
it's just goofy, right?
It wasn't.
No,
it wasn't overplayed the way you're describing it. Okay, it was not. This was not a Hamilton moment in the Odyssey. Okay, sure, the subtext. I agree. I get what you're saying, but I disagree. I don't think he looked out of place with the rest of the cast, and I don't think what he was doing. I mean, he wasn't just there rapping, right? Like he was. It was part of the bards. I mean, that was a thing that existed in Greek and Roman times. So it did not take me out of it, and it was not as shoddily handled, I think, is the way you're painting it.
It was his reading of the lines, his delivery was just so like, hey, everybody, I'm trying to talk loud. I'm going to do some real acting here. I don't really know what he was going for. And it did take me out of the movie, which is weird because it was like literally, I think the first spoken words of the movie were Travis Scott.
That's true.
And I'm like,
yeah.
oh, okay. Yeah. Oh boy. I hope this doesn't, and I think he made one more brief appearance, talking some more later. I get like wanting an R&B, or not R&B, but wanting a hip hop guy and drawing those lines. There are hip hop fellas who can also act. And so he could have actually found someone who could have, embodied that and delivered that message and looked like, it didn't seem like he was reading off cue cards, which is how Travis Scott, it just seemed
I didn't
off.
feel that way. I did not feel that way, but carry on. Tell me more about the performances.
So who else? What else did I think was, so Matt Damon, I felt like he was not invested in the role at all. I never once believed before the Battle of Troy, during the Battle of Troy, or on his journey home. I never saw what he was trying to sell. I never believed that he was a wise adventurer. I never believed that he was a traumatized veteran of an awful conflict, carrying around guilt. It seemed like he was searching for his character, and he never really found it. And I'm not saying he was miscast. I think he was misdirected. I don't know what he was. I don't know why it was so flat from an otherwise great actor, Matt Damon. I think the embarrassing performance, though, embarrassingly bad. I really like Anne Hathaway, but I just thought she was just overacting, underacting. The only person to use like a British accent, even though she doesn't have an actual British accent, but she decided to talk with one at times. When she's talking to Tom Holland and they're talking about getting married and why it's so important to either get married or not get married, and that Ithaca needed a king, although they never really showed why Ithaca needed a king. Her moment of saying, I want Odysseus, and then she threw up her hands and walks out of the room. And I'm like, wait, what? Is that come back. Let's do that again, Anne. That was a little bit of that was so overacting and silly. And like when they do Epic Movie 2, the Odyssey parody movie, whoever is playing that role could not say that line any sillier, especially in a film that is, underacted, dispassionate through and through, for her to just like sort of have this weird sort of outburst. I don't know. I was like, oh man, my eyes could not roll any further back in my head. I just didn't care for it at all. I think that the sort of I think Zendaya thankfully didn't have much to do. I think that her curveball of what her significance to the movie was, and whether he was actually talking to a god or just to his conscience, was actually, that was okay. She didn't detract from it. Thankfully, the role didn't require her to have any more than one facial expression, so it was right in her lane. She was comfortable being half awake. Yeah, I truly, Agamemnon, the guy who played Agamemnon, who's the director of some of those, he's one of the director bros that did that Adam Sandler movie where he's the gambler. I can't remember all of a sudden. Family Jewels, Precious Jewels.
What was the name of that movie? Good grief.
The Precious Jewels movie.
If you Uncut Gems, that's what it's called.
Uncut Gems, right? Yeah, Precious Jewels family. Whatever. Thankfully, like I don't know if that guy can actually act, but you didn't have to worry about it because he barely had anything to do. Mostly, you were just looking at the back of his head with that weird helmet. Mm-hmm. His second in command shipmate guy, Odysseus's. He was okay, I guess. I don't know. I mean, and Samantha Morton was fine, right? I like her as an actress. She's good. And I think she actually had something to do and she portrayed it. Like you actually felt her disdain for the men in that moment and men broadly, which is sort of, I guess, the point of Cersei. And then, Matt Damon sort of talking her through that was actually, he was doing a bit of acting. She was doing some good acting. That sold, right? That was actually a pretty good stretch of the movie. And I bought that. She did a good job. Calypso, I know that the difference between Calypso in the poem, in the story, and how it was portrayed in this movie was pretty different. And I couldn't tell if you were supposed to think she was good-hearted and had kept them there until he recovered, or if she was holding him captive. I know what the story itself was in the original text was trying to say, I think, right? I'm not really sure what Nolan was trying to get across. I think he was making her more of a good actor, right? And not somebody who was selfish, right? I think she told him to lay off the lotuses. Damon was packing him in. He loved them. I think he even said, I love him so much. At one point, it was sort of a weird sort of golden corral of lotuses moment. He was shoving lotuses in his mouth. I love you so much. You got to stop that, Matt. No, I just underwhelmed for most of these performances. But I did think that Anne Hathaway, I think she really, like, absent better direction, she decided just to, like, all right, I'm just going to go nuts as Penelope. It's really important that I get him back. It's really important to the kingdom. So I'm going to overact in this one scene. And I don't know. In a bunch of performances that were understated to the point of being mumbly, for her to have one weird outburst, it just stuck out like a sore thumb.
I didn't react to it that way. And I feel like with as many movies as you and I have seen, we both have a pretty good sense for bad performance. And I didn't feel it in the Odyssey. Like I was completely satisfied with every single person in the film. And I think that the way Damon portrayed Odysseus really kind of came into sharp focus when you get to maybe 2/3 of the way through the movie, when he finally admits to himself he doesn't want to go home, and he's trying to figure out why that is, because he himself as a character does not understand why he doesn't want to go home, and then that eventually works itself out. I think like that to me is the crux moment of his character and of how Damon chose to portray him. So even if you start the movie and you're feeling like little wooden, little not, like I'm not getting a lot from this guy, I could see that. But then when you're watching the film and you start to understand his reasoning, I think it all clicks into place, and I think it all works very well.
Okay. I was waiting for curveballs. And we got that curveball, right, about his motivation, what was keeping him from wanting to go home. We got that. right? And that was fine, right? I was thinking there was going to be something else, and being familiar with the very broad strokes of the story, there was lots of areas that I didn't know, and I was like, all right, I'm not sure. I kept thinking like there was going to be a surprise with Agamemnon, right? He was going to pop off the helmet. It was going to be Robert Pattinson the whole time or something, right? I was like, there's something, there's a twist, he's got a trick up his sleeve. It's all going to fit together, and I'm going to understand the movie better. And I may not love it, but it might get me to like it more or respect it more. And it didn't do that. In fact, I did not understand. I get like Agamemnon not being important, right? And not wanting to be too much of the focus of the film, because ultimately he was not important to the story at all. But then why go out of your way to make him mysterious and shrouded in mystery that we're not going to show his face, right? Why? That was a mystery. That was such cheap misdirection.
I don't think so,
and because I was annoyed.
Yeah. Okay. So here is a thing, and I have heard and I have read some criticism of the movie, and in all cases, my response to those criticisms is, it was the Odyssey. It was not the Iliad. You know, this is not the story of the Trojan War. This is not Agamemnon's story. And in fact, if you, depending on your translation of the Odyssey, Agamemnon doesn't make it into the Odyssey more than like 2 or 3 pages. You know, I mean, he's not there. And so I never saw the mask and the costume as mystery or misdirection. I saw it as, this is a visual way to distinguish who we're talking about, right? And who's under the helmet.
Then why not show his face?
Because it doesn't matter. And he's out of the picture so quickly. And then when you meet him again during the Hades sequence, he's still like, I mean, because that's the character, right? And Odysseus makes the comment pretty early in the movie when he decides to go the different direction to sail home, and he's like, I've followed Agamemnon long enough, and so he's out of it, right? So I didn't interpret the lack of showing the face as mystery. I interpreted it as whenever Agamemnon's on screen, you immediately know who this is. So it's more of like geography in filmmaking rather than misdirection or mystery.
So I understand what you're saying, but my point is that if it was not important, it felt like there were great pains taken to not show his face. It was not accidental that they didn't show his face, right? It was not. That wasn't just, oh yeah, man, I guess I didn't show that fella's face. I showed his like weird neck bone helmet, right? But I didn't show his face, huh? Oh well. No, that was very much on purpose, right? There was an air of mystery around the face, right? And maybe you could be like, oh yeah, because he didn't want to show like, you know, he was the helmet, he was the warrior, there wasn't a human and whatever, right? At that point, I think you're doing the work for Nolan. And I'm not gonna do that, right? There was a reason why it seemed important to not show it, but that never really paid off either like visually or thematically or in the narrative. It just seemed like, it was like, oh, okay, maybe it was, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe I was anticipating twists and turns where there wasn't any to be had, but it felt like there was, it felt like the movie wanted me to anticipate. Like it was trying to get me to focus on that. And it never paid off in any way. But I really did. I thought they were going to pop his helmet off and it would be meaningful. Like it was John Leguizamo the whole time. He's going to pop off. He's I've been blind. I'm doing the face. I'm doing the John Leguizamo face.
I get what you're saying, and I can follow your logic of how you got there. As I was watching the movie, like it didn't bother me, and it never occurred to me to expect mystery. You know, my earlier comment about taking off the helmet, and it was help me out. What's his name? Tom Hardy.
Scooby-Doo villain?
No, it was Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy. I mean, I was just,
if it wasn't for these kids and their dog who died.
Oh. Yeah. I don't know. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I took my son to see it, and when we were leaving the theater, he made the comment to me, and he's like, "Wow, I thought that was going to be really boring, but I loved it. I was invested the whole way through." And I was like, "Oh, good for you,
Okay,
son."
great.
Yeah.
So I went with Mary, and we both were in 100% alignment. Ooh, this bored me. We were both very bored. So I get it. I know that I'm going to be in the minority. This movie is going to make. It may have already made over worldwide $1 billion, right? Or it's
I don't
right
think,
on the
I don't think
heels
it's
of $1 billion.
yet,
Okay.
but it's close.
Yeah. It will easily. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be like 1.31. I mean, it's going to make a lot of money. And great. I'm glad. But I think that in time, it's not going to be looked on as. I think the flaws will be more obvious. I think right now everybody's just kind of caught up in it, which is fine. I thought, but yeah, there was some misdirect there with Agamemnon. I thought, right, it came off like a misdirect. I was not expecting the Zendaya slave girl, whatever, young girl twist. I thought that was clever. I was like, okay, now I get it. Mm-hmm. Right? I think that the whole was she ever really communicating, or was he talking to himself? I thought that the ambivalence around that, leaving it up for interpretation, was a very Nolan thing to do and very cool. I'm like, all right, that's good. I thought that worked. I think that he needed some sort of explanation for why he didn't seem like he was on fire to get home. So I'm glad we got some of that. I don't know, and I'm going to say this. I know we've brought this up for other Nolan films. The sound design, man, there were so many times where I could not make out the dialogue, and
really?
I think that might have impacted my same thing, right? The mumbly.
I had one instance. And it was intentional because it was during the big storm when they're leaving the island where they eat the cows. That was the only time in my showing that I could not understand what was being said. But I think that was there for a reason and not a Nolan audio reason, right? I think like that was the point, is that this massive storm's happening and you can't hear what the characters are saying. Other than that, there was not a single moment in my showing that had that issue. And I know which theater you saw it at, and I'm not going to say it because I don't want them to sue the show. Maybe you just had a bad experience, and maybe that's clouding your judgment of the movie.
I was at the I was at the B&B theater.
Oh, see, we weren't,
which is a local Midwest chain.
Here we go.
Did you think I was at the AMC?
No, I knew you were at the B&B. But I didn't want to.
I thought maybe because I went to see another movie at the AMC, and I thought and here's the thing, right? I went to their premiere theater, their grand screen, which they charge you $1 more. It's a big screen, right? But it's not a great. It's truly not my favorite theater experience. I couldn't remember if I told you which one I went to, but now I recall because I complimented them on being clean and nothing else. But I did. I felt like the the dialogue was down mixed. The sound effects and the score, which was not a memorable score. I know what's weird though. So Nolan made some interesting choices, right? I'm sure you've heard him say we didn't do your typical orchestral score because they would not have had orchestras back then, right? I don't know if you've heard him say that.
I hadn't, but I can imagine him saying it.
Did they say "daddy" a lot back then? Because I know Tom Holland's character said "daddy" a few times, and Pattinson's character said, "You're looking for your daddy who you never knew." So, I mean, it's sort of weird, sort of a slavish, I'm going to lock myself into the time period, but I'm also going to, use modern vernacular. I don't know. It's weird choices on Nolan's part. Just weird choices.
Fair. I agree that score was not memorable. It was, and similar to Oppenheimer and similar to some of the Batman trilogy, the score almost acts more as sound effects than it does as music, which I think is something that Nolan.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I think that's something that Nolan just appreciates, right? And it's I will say I much prefer like the Interstellar way of filmmaking, where you have
or the Tenet way.
Hans Zimmer, where you have Hans Zimmer doing a beautiful score that that complements the movie. I mean, that's just more my proclivities, right? Did the score or lack thereof of the Odyssey take me out of it or bother me? No, it did not. But I hear what you're saying. It was definitely not a traditional movie score. And if I also do agree that if that's Nolan's reasoning for it, that's a little bit like George Lucas saying, oh, it's for kids. Oh, the last one's rated PG-13 and people lose all of their limbs and die. It's the same sort of thing. Darn you, Ron Hurst.
Yeah, Ron's really got some thoughts on this. He's first station alert. The Odyssey is not very good. That's Ron's alert. No, you can look it up, right? Nolan did specifically cite that his choices around the soundtrack were informed by the type of instrumentation that would have been available to him at the time, which weird, right? I mean, they also did not have movie screens and IMAX. Apparently they had IMAX cameras. Like, oh yeah, the ancient Greeks. They were,
well, the technology is so old that, yeah.
Yes. Ancient. Back then it was 60 millimeter. They hadn't developed those extra. That's as high as the millimeter scale.
They didn't have 10 more millimeters. Yeah. Well, I mean, Nolan originally wanted to chisel it in stone tablets and make all of us flip through those, but he was talked out of that. So.
Yeah, there's some interesting anachronisms, right? The language that was used, and it wasn't the sort of the florid, sword and sandal epic language. I was fine with that, right? But it was just some weird choices, and I don't know. And then, the Nolan action scene stuff, his action scene directing. The bright daylight action scene with the giant things in armor was pretty cool, and I could follow that. The dark third act final fight between Matt Damon and I don't know if there was 7 guys or 700 guys because it was so confusing, it's so choppy, so dark, you could not tell like exactly what was going on.
Dark,
I thought that. The final fight.
Yeah,
I
understand. No, I mean, but okay. So there's a difference between unclear and there's a difference between dark. Like, did you feel it was not properly exposed?
No. Dark, maybe muddy, maybe quick cuts.
Okay.
Kind of the stuff that Nolan gets criticized for action scenes.
I was just making sure that you didn't have a projection problem as well as an audio problem in the showing that you went to.
You're going to blame it all on the B&B. A family-owned theater chain in the Midwest. It's all their fault. Not your precious Christopher Nolan. No, it was, the quick, choppy, zoomed in when it doesn't need to be zoomed in, yeah, the stuff. Listen,
well, they had to fit the camera in the room, Dave. There was no way to pull it back any further.
I thought it was weird that he had Matt Damon actually helping hold the camera in the scenes that he was in. Like he's basically IMAX selfieing. Odd choices. Not Nolan's for. And I thought Nolan actually been getting better with action scenes. I thought Tenet was. Tenet was outstanding job setting those up.
Agreed.
The fight scenes were great. It was visceral.
Yeah.
He still had the Nolan signature style, but he had refined the movement of the actors and the choreography and of the camera in these fight scenes. And I felt like he took some big steps back, and I couldn't, I don't know. And then I will say another character I really liked. I was like, oh, I really like Mentor. Like, oh man, I like this guy. He's silent, cool. I'm sure he's gonna. And I didn't know the story. I didn't know he's gonna, die so unceremoniously. But I was sad. I was more sad when Mentor died than when the dog died, which I'm not sure was the, I don't know. It's interesting though that they knew how he was going to turn out because they gave him that first name of Mentor. His parents must have really knew this guy's going to be a really good mentor.
So let's name him Mentor. Yes,
let's name him Mentor.
And his brother CEO.
They knew that Odysseus was going to be good at taking Odysseys.
Yes, yes, they did.
We're gonna. We'll call him. They were originally going to call him Mr. like Odyssey, and they're like, no, we need to Greek this up. Odysseus.
Yes.
I mean, clearly, right. This movie was not for me. I was bored to tears by it. will I ever revisit it? There's a part of me that says I'm going to need to, because I am so against the grain in my opinion on this, that I'm going to revisit it at home, right? I will probably watch it again, but I'm going to watch it striving to find something that I missed, or something that that didn't click with me, or a way into it, not because I love it or because I even really want to.
I will be very interested to hear how that second viewing goes for you. I thought it was a great film. I thought it was brilliant. I do acknowledge that we're kind of in that moment where anything that Chris Nolan does is going to be accepted by the world at large, and just society as it is. I wonder when they're going to turn on Nolan. Because that is a fear, unfortunately, in the way
Right.
of the internet and social media. When is that going to happen? When is that axe going to fall?
Yep.
So I respect your opinion. I don't share them. Like, I thought the Odyssey was a triumph. I thought it was fantastic. Not my favorite Nolan movie. Probably middle of the pack for me. Definitely not to the bottom. And it sounds like you're going to say it's your least favorite Nolan film.
100%.
Yeah.
Not including Following, but even if you said, which one do you want to rewatch right now? I would sooner watch his 65-minute student film than this again. And that, I say that straight faced, right? No exaggeration.
Yeah.
It's a slog. The Odyssey is, to me.
I liked it. I had no problem with its runtime. I thought it was brilliantly paced and enjoyed it. It was a brisk 3 hours for me. Yeah, I'm surprised that you didn't, but that's okay. So, you're allowed your opinion.
Middle of the pack. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad. Thank you for letting me have my own opinion.
Anytime.
I was kidding. Middle of the pack, right? So it's not a huge list. Better or worse than Tenet?
Worse. I like Tenet a lot, though. So
I love Tenet. Yeah, I love Tenet. I feel like I'm in the minority on that.
Yeah.
Like, I like it way more than the average person who's seen Tenet. So I guess that in the Prestige, right? This is you like the Prestige better or Odyssey?
I do. Yeah, Prestige.
Insomnia. Insomnia is probably at the bottom for you, right?
Is it at the bottom? I'm going to make some enemies. No, Insomnia is not at the bottom. Odyssey is better than Insomnia.
Okay, Odyssey is better. So Dark Knight Rises.
Odyssey is better than Dark Knight Rises.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm going to start auditioning a new middle-aged guy. Batman Begins.
No, I'll pick Begins over the Odyssey.
All right. I don't feel like these are challenging you much. Memento.
Odyssey over Memento. And when I said I'm going to make some enemies, I'm not a big fan of Memento. Like, it may be my least favorite Chris Nolan movie.
Wow. Okay. All right. And that was the one that defined Nolan for the movie-going public.
It was, yeah. But I saw it later. It was not my first Chris Nolan movie. And it just didn't resonate with me as much as it did with most people, and I acknowledge that. But yeah, so I would pick the Odyssey over Memento.
Oppenheimer.
That's close. I might go Odyssey. Ooh, oh God, no. That's close. Those are the two, like, right next to each other for me. I'll say Oppenheimer is a little bit better.
Wow. Okay. All right. This is man. Yeah. All right. I am blown away by how much you like this film. I figured you would, right? I recognize that that I, like I said, I'm in the minority, probably broadly average theater moviegoer, and certainly within those who call themselves Nolan fans. I just can't say I cared for it.
That's all right.
Yeah. Trying to think of anything else I did like about it. The Cyclops was kind of cool. Um,
I felt kind of bad for him. I mean, he did eat a bunch of Odysseus's men, but still, I felt kind of bad for the Cyclops.
I did feel kind of bad, right? Because he had one eye, and then that eye got ruined. But my first thought was, this is so silly, right? They're in the cave, and he's like, cheese. And I'm like, how'd that big giant monster milk those goats? Or sheep, rather, not goats. Yeah. Because it was sheep, right? Not goats. Yeah, it was sheep. How did he milk the sheep with those big giant hands? The hands were the size. He was picking up dudes and eating their heads off like they were Butterfinger candy bars. How did he do that?
It's a good question.
No one needs to answer for that.
In the DVD, there'll be some special features where they go through the anatomy of
like a 2-hour special Cyclops.
How did he teach you how to make cheese? So yeah.
Yes, the Cyclops way. All right. Okay. Well, Chris, if our listeners can even stand me anymore, right? They may have just written us off. They stopped listening a few minutes in. But if they decide that they would like to hear more of us, why don't you tell them where they can find us?
You can find us on the internet. Type in 2 middle-aged guys trying to work it all out, and you will find us. You can type that in on Facebook. You can type that in on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Audible, on any place that you get podcasts. 2 middle-aged guys trying to work it all out. You will find us. Feel free to send us an email at 2middleagedguys@gmail.com. We would love to hear who you're voting for. Who was right about the Odyssey? Was it me or was it Dave? Let's see how much of a rift we can form in this show, because that's what everybody enjoys, right? Is tearing things down.
Yes.
Let's see if we can tear this show down.
Unity is just silly, right? We need to be dividing people based on preferences, any arbitrary thing, whatever we can just divide people up. It's
absolutely right.
Maybe they didn't feel bad. I think that you and I agreeing on Johnny Legs and are feeling that the Cyclops got a raw deal. I think that those are where we intersect, and the rest of it though we're pretty far apart.
And that even might be too much unity. So maybe we should revisit those two topics later. I don't know.
Burn it down. Burn it down. Well, Chris, I really enjoyed this conversation. I'm going to go slaughter a minor deity's cow and eat just a little bit of it. I don't want to waste a lot of that cow.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm going to do for the rest of the night.
Okay. I'm going to go find some cheese.
Handcraft some shoes.
I'm
going to go watch Spider-Man again.
Yeah.
And then Supergirl, and then Masters of the Universe.
Oh, don't even get me started on Masters of the Universe.
All right. Thanks for listening, folks.
Bye, everyone.